Welcome to Zain Khan Live, where everything is discussed and nothing is censored. Today we have with us an Islamic scholar, a leader in Islamic eschatology, an author of many books, and he's given multiple lectures on the subject of Islamic eschatology. We will be discussing with him the topic of the Dajjal and the end times. We have none other than Sheikh Imran Hosein. Welcome to our show, Sheikh Imran Hosein. It's a pleasure having you, sir.
Thank you for your kind invitation.
Since today's topic is on Dajjal, and your work on Islamic eschatology we are all aware of, I want to ask you the first question. Sheikh, how will the world be before Dajjal arrives as a person?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Before Dajjal arrives in person, our Prophet, Allah's blessings be upon him, has given us a timeline. The one with which I am most comfortable is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in which he was speaking to his companion Muaz ibn Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and the hadith is located in the Sunan of Abi Dawood. And he said that at that time when Jerusalem is center stage in the world, and Medina is in forlorn desolation, then the next event would be the Great War, the Malhama, and then would come the conquest of Constantinople, and we know why. A Muslim army will conquer Constantinople, we know why. And then after that comes the Khuruj of Dajjal, meaning that Dajjal will now appear in human form.
Sir, there is a difference of opinion regarding Dajjal. Some scholars are of the opinion that the Dajjal will be a system and then a person. What is your opinion? I'd like you to clarify.
Those who wish to follow that opinion that Dajjal is a system are free to go their way and leave me alone. Our Prophet ﷺ, the first thing he said about Dajjal is that he referred to him as Al-Masih al-Dajjal, implying, and this is elementary, that here is someone who wants to impersonate the Messiah. And that is why he is called Al-Masih al-Dajjal. The Messiah was a human being, and therefore someone who wants to impersonate the Messiah can't be a mountain, can he? He has to be a human being.
We read in the hadith that the Dajjal will have some sort of a control. So, you know, I ask the same question again. Will he be like a president? Will he be a king, a dictator, a warrior? Will he have some sort of a system before he arrives?
Yes. In order for him to fulfill his mission of impersonating the true Messiah, we must first of all recognize that the Messiah is someone described by Prophet Muhammad ﷺ as Al-Hakimul Adil, someone who would rule, not rule downtown Chicago, rule the world, and rule the world with justice. Ruling the world with justice requires power. It requires political power, it requires economic power, it requires military power in order to rule the world. And so someone who wants to impersonate the Messiah must therefore also seek to rule the world. And in order for him to rule the world, he has to come with a political system that will allow him to rule the world. And so he has created the political system today. He has created the United Nations organization, and he has embraced all of us like sheep and cattle and goats and camels who have lost the capacity to think. All of us are in the United Nations, and he has created the International Monetary Fund in order to embrace all of us and entrap us and rule of us, and all of us, like sheep and cattle and goats and camels, have all become members of the International Monetary Fund. This is Dajjal. He has to come with many different systems in order to be able to establish his rule over mankind.
Sir, you've named a few events that will happen before Dajjal arrives as a person. Can you elaborate more? What is Constantinople? What are the other events?
The Great War is the next event, and it is called the Malhama.
Armageddon in the Bible.
And in the Torah and the Gospel, they know it as Armageddon. But we're not the only ones who are expecting the Great War. Most of mankind now are convinced that there is nuclear war coming. And it is because that nuclear war will be one in which NATO would seek to wage war on Russia and China, because while others have no problem in bending down and kneeling on their knees for everything that comes from Washington and London and the World Health Organization, Russia and China refuse to bend their knees in submission to the West. And because of this, they need to wage war. They need to wage war because their monetary system is now threatened by China and Russia. The monetary system in which the US dollar is the international currency. And so there are lots of people who agree with us that yes, NATO is lusting for war with Russia. And Russia has said, we're ready for you anytime you want to come. We're ready for you. And when Russia took Crimea and we celebrated, we who still have the capacity to think, we celebrated when Russia took Crimea. Russia took control of the Black Sea. And this is in preparation for the Great War, because Russia will survive the Great War and China will survive the Great War. But modern Western civilization will suffer such an enormous defeat. The Quran speaks about that defeat when Allah says in Surah Al-Rahman, but nobody studies the Quran at this time. Pakistanis have more important things to do than to study the Quran. And I'm here in Pakistan as a forlorn Islamic scholar. I'm here to try to teach the Quran as it ought to be taught. Allah says in Surah Al-Rahman, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم سنفرغ لكم أيها الثقلان. I'm going to deal with you. He's talking about the Great War. So Russia and China, of course, they will be badly affected by the war, but they will survive. And that prepares the way, because Russia now controls Crimea. That prepares the way for a Muslim army to conquer Constantinople. And when the Muslim army conquers Constantinople, as prophesied by Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu, and I don't have time for the sheep and cattle and goats and camels who argue that the conquest of Constantinople by the Ottoman Empire in 1453 fulfilled the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu. Tell these people, go your way and leave me alone. When the conquest of Constantinople takes place after the Great War, the first thing that we would do is to return Hagia Sophia to those to whom it rightfully belongs. And I am tremendously happy to find that in the more than 4 months that I've been in Pakistan, and I've been traveling in many parts of Pakistan, not one person has dared to come before me to argue the case with me. Not one. Not one. I don't know where they're hiding.
What's the reason?
They were trumping and beating and dancing that, no, Hagia Sophia now is a masjid and it's time for us to celebrate. I don't know where they're hiding, in which hole they're hiding. They're scared to come before me. Not one Pakistani has ever deferred with me. That we will return Hagia Sophia to those to whom it rightfully belongs. And when we do that, the church bells of Greece will ring more lustily than any other Orthodox Christian people. That's why I'm waiting for the day when I can visit Greece, inshallah. And when we return Hagia Sophia to that Orthodox Christian world, then the prophecy in the Quran will be fulfilled, in which Allah has promised, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prophesied, that a Christian people will become closest in love and affection to us Muslims. وَلَتَجِدَنَّ أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ نَصَارَى. Where is Islamic scholarship today? To be able to at least understand the Quran before you explain it in contemporary language. This is what's going to happen. And then when we conquer Constantinople, the Bosphorus will now be free, and the Russian Navy will be able to go to the unmolested into the Mediterranean, and that's bad news for Israel.
Sheikh, when Dajjal arrives, what sort of a narrative, according to the Quran, Sayyidi, the Bible, what narrative will he use to convince the people that he's the Messiah?
He has to first of all prepare the way for his target audience, who are the Jews, to be convinced that he is indeed the Messiah. That there is one part of the Christian world which has joined in alliance with the Jews, and in the Quran we are prohibited from maintaining friendly ties with them. But the President of Turkey has less than a passing acquaintance with the Quran, so he doesn't know that. So Turkey is a member of NATO, not only a member of NATO, comfortably a member of NATO, in conflict, manifest conflict with Allah's command in the Quran. Don't take those people as your friends and allies. And that's what Erdogan has done. But there is another part of the Christian world which is not going to be in alliance with the Jews. This part of the Christian world would recognize that this man is not the Messiah. And the Muslim world, of course, has those who just eat their biryani and go home and sleep, so they will dance to any tune that Dajjal plays. But there are other Muslims who have the capacity to think. And when they see him standing in Jerusalem declaring, I am the Messiah, they will say, no, this is Dajjal, the false Messiah. So he has to do all the work that he has to do to convince his target audience that he is the Messiah. And the most important thing of all is to be established, to be able to establish Pax Judaica in succession to Pax Americana.
Sheikh, I'm a journalist and I read mainstream media and also alternative media. And you've just mentioned that the Dajjal will rule the world. Now, if we read alternative media terminology, they call this the one world government that's going to come. Prime Minister Imran Khan's latest interview with HBO, he used the term cultural imperialism. So I'm trying to ask this question, one world government, and they're also going to try to have a one world culture?
You notice that my name never appears in newspapers in Pakistan. I'm not on a radio. You don't see me on television. It's because I recognize that what you refer to as the mainstream media, I recognize it as Dajjal's mouthpiece. It's the bogus media. But the sheep and cattle and goats and camels, they love it, fine, let them stay with it and let them eat that and go home and sleep. So I look for news elsewhere, not in what they call the mainstream media. And I don't sing for my supper to offer opinions that will be pleasing to the market out there in Washington that will pay me my monthly salary. The narrative that is coming from people like the government of Pakistan and others is that there is indeed a one world order emerging, and it is coming clearly from modern Western civilization. And it is a civilization which was created by Dajjal, but they don't know it. They are Maulanas and Muftis and Shuyukh and all of these things. And they have control of the Darul Ulooms, and they offer themselves as scholars of Islam, and they are blissfully ignorant that from the Quran itself you get the evidence that modern Western civilization was created by Dajjal. And it is this modern Western civilization which is spreading its tentacles even after decolonization, and even after the freedom, the national freedom movements have brought into being states like the Republic of Pakistan and the Republic of India and so on. They are still pursuing the effort to bring all of mankind into one global order.
Sheikh, when I talk to Islamic scholars living in the West, they tell me secretly that they have so much pressure on them that if they say that homosexuality is haram in Islam, they will get banned and they might even get jailed. So when I was talking about cultural imperialism, what I'm trying to say is that are there powers in the world trying to inculcate one culture, and if we don't agree with their culture, LGBT and
even schoolboy knows it, that they are pursuing relentlessly so an effort to transform all of mankind into carbon copies of themselves. Even a schoolboy knows it. So why would you continue to live there and be censored, and you could only preach and deliver that version of Islam that they approve of? Who will have any confidence in you as an Islamic scholar? And you also become an advisor to the US government, and you expect us to respect you? Why don't you leave the United States and Britain and act with 5 rupees worth of integrity and come to places like Pakistan where you have, I am here with freedom. The government of Pakistan has never made any effort to censor me. I speak with freedom. And if you have some integrity, I can speak like this at the age of 80. Why don't you leave the United States? Is it because it's too comfortable there for you? No, you come to Pakistan and you will have the freedom to talk, and you could also eat the best mangoes in the world.
Sheikh, a hadith says that women will be in majority in following the Dajjal. Why is that so?
Dajjal, our Prophet ﷺ said that the last people to follow Dajjal will be women. And the brainwashing of women will be so total and complete. You cannot talk to them, no. He says a man would have to return to his home and coercively restrain, mean tying his wife and sister and daughter to protect them from being seduced by Dajjal. It is the modern feminist revolution, which is not only taking the world by storm, but has taken good roots here in Pakistan as well. You have women who are faithful to the truth. You have women in Pakistan who are faithful to the truth, faithful to the Quran, faithful to Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And the Quran has described these women as righteous women. But you have another breed of women who are now captivated by the feminist revolution that is coming from the Dajjal's modern Western civilization. And you can see the effect on these women, brainwashed women, that they do not wish to live lives of righteousness. They do not wish to live lives in which they perform the function that Allah has given to them. The male and the female have been created, and the Quran tells us, functionally different. The man has a function, a duty, to maintain women, and to guard and to protect them. But they say, no, we don't need men to guard and protect us and to maintain us. So we say to such women, would you kindly leave us and go your way? You are the equivalent of rubbish in Akhirul Zaman, and we'd rather not have to deal with rubbish. My language is harsh because you can't talk to them. And Allah has given to women functional roles. It's like the night and the day. The day has a functional role to perform, and the night has a functional role to perform. And Allah says that when the two come together, fulfilling their function, then you have a harmonious system. But no, she says, anything a man does, I have to have the freedom to do. So I say, go your way and find a place where you can live with your kind of people. And your kind of people are those who eventually declare that a man should have the freedom to marry another man, and a woman should have the freedom to marry another woman. And it's a woman's body. She has freedom in her body to rule over her body. She wants to put on clothes, that's her business. She wants to take off clothes, that's her business. We say, go find your place to live and leave us alone. We don't want to see you. You are contaminating our society. Go your way, we don't even have to argue with you.
You just mentioned that the Dajjal created the Western civilization. Now when you say this, are you trying to say the person Dajjal or the dark energy of Dajjal? How did he create the Western civilization? Is he here?
We settled this issue at the beginning of the interview, that there is a creation, a being, who is known as Al-Masih al-Dajjal, but he has with him those who support him and who assist him. Our Prophet ﷺ spoke about the jinn, for example, supporting Dajjal. And it is also there in the Quran, the jinn supporting Dajjal. And so blockchain technology didn't come falling from the sky. Yes. And the cryptocurrencies and the one universal currency that is just around the corner. All of these are part and parcel of a civilization which was created by Dajjal and which has support from the shayateen and the Quran. But who studies the Quran today? The Quran confirms it. Yes, Dajjal has support from shayateen of the jinn and of the men. There are lots of them in Washington supporting Dajjal, yes.
Now let's not overlap the timelines. I want to know that Dajjal has appeared. How long will it take for Imam Mahdi to appear and confront him?
Dajjal will appear and proclaim himself to be the Messiah in Washington. Sorry, not Washington, in Jerusalem. And then he can say, he can now claim, I have completed my mission. Unless Dajjal has completed his mission of declaring himself to be the Messiah in a Jerusalem which is Pax Judaica, the Imam al-Mahdi cannot be sent. So the Imam al-Mahdi, the advent of Imam al-Mahdi will commence only after Dajjal has completed his mission. And so we still have some time left for that. As soon as the Imam al-Mahdi emerges and all of these republican states and monarchies and so on which clutter the world of Islam today have disappeared. And the Ummah of Muhammad ﷺ is restored. Its political integrity is restored. But conventional wisdom, conventional political wisdom in Islamabad can't even understand this subject.
Allah fahab li tawbatan wa ufir dhunubi fa innaka